so we got a Maxim knife blade. That's going to be in your, let's see here, 58 to 62. So now we're starting to get a little bit harder. Now we're at the top of the tool steel range and up even more than that. So this is probably going to be sitting right in the 60s. We're going to cut the handle, because that would be the thickest part and the most fair part to start with. Now, we may need to shorten that up and move out as we go. I'm willing to try this with one of these other blades here, but I don't think a bimetal blade's going to do very much on this. I think it's just going to get worn out again. Actually, we can use this one. It's still got some teeth at the edge. I don't think it's going to cut it. Okay, so that's pretty much not going to cut that. It marred it a little bit, but it's going downhill pretty fast. So now that we're up in the higher end of the steel category in the Rockwell hardness scale, basically what's going on is these steels are roughly the same hardness. If this one is possibly not, maybe just a little bit harder. So they're just not going to cut. I mean, two steels that rub up against each other, they're just going to wear each other out. So the only ones left in the playing field are carbide cutters. This is the Rem grit, or the carbide grit. And we have the carbide tooth one still left in the game too. So go ahead and see what this does. So, will the carbide cut stainless steel? Yes, it will. It's going to take a while, and you're going to have sore arms if you do very much of it. But it will at least do it. So, let's see. I didn't see any damage on this thing. Let's see here. So it does look like it started to pack up, and basically what I mean by that is if you look at the grit down here at the bottom where it was doing the most cutting, it's starting to fill up and gum up, whereas out here it's not. That's why I'm trying to pull it back, but these thin blades, they get hot, the metal up here gets hot, and then as soon as they bind, they flex, and that's when it starts flapping around all over the place. That's why these thicker blades are better, especially when you use them in longer ones. But it did cut it, so if you need to cut stainless knife steel, those will do it. And here we go again, our Diablo Carbide tipped metal cutting. So it's extra thick, extra heavy duty, 54 to 62 on the Rockwell hardness scale. Let's see if it does it without chipping any teeth. That's what's going to be the main factor now, is if the teeth chip. Wow, that is impressive. That is really, really cool. This stuff, you can see how it just absolutely destroyed all these other blades. I mean, just made a mess out of them. Where's my leather in here? Or my Gerber tool? Let's see. And we're beginning to see some teeth starting to fail. So the Carbide's getting jerked out of these. I would assume these two here do not have any Carbide left on them. But look at all the stuff we cut. I mean, this is still the same blade that we cut. Wood with nails, 3/4 inch steel, our tool, chrome vandalum, wrench, cut through that, and just now it's starting to break down. So that's pretty impressive to me. We'll keep going with this thing and see what it can really do here. Alright, so this was the Carbide strip from Diablo, and this is what it says it's designed to do. It's designed to cut stainless steel. So let's, got our Maxim knife, pull that out a little bit so we can get a little better cut on it. Right here. Okay, so game over. The Carbide on this one was a better idea. The Carbide strip just completely blew out. It's 100% gone. I bet I can make this thing cut the rest of this just for fun, but basically I was able to do that by using the outer teeth out here. But yeah, now it is 100% toast. This blade now belongs in the garbage can. So the finer cut, I just don't know. It's just not holding up to the heavy duty abuse. Whereas the heavier duty cut, because it's not one solid strip of Carbide, 1 or 2 or 3 got knocked off, but there's still plenty more on it. Okay, so we got stainless steel here and diamond coated blade. This is the Lennox blade. They're all about the same. Milwaukee's got one. The Torch, you know, it's just diamond impregnated steel, and they should cut through this harder steel pretty good. Now this one actually did, kind of what I didn't want it to do. It started to gum up into the diamond here. You can see the bottom of that. You can see how it starting to gum that up a little bit. Hopefully that'll flush out, but we just don't know. But that's why it started to slow, and that's why it started to build up heat. That's why I continue to move it back and forth and try and move it around. I can't move it too far towards the tip, otherwise it'll pinch and it'll flex the blade. So that's diamond cutting stainless steel, about a 62 on the Rockwell hardness scale, roughly 58 to 62 on the Rockwell hardness scale. Alright, so after doing all this testing, we really get to see what blades work on what and why. And usually the brand doesn't really matter. There's Diablo, Milwaukee, Lennox, they're all putting out a pretty good quality product for the most part. The only one that seemed to have the most advantages, clearly an advantage, are the Milwaukee Axe, simply because of this tooth design. You can see it clearly beat. I mean, we beat the crap out of this stuff, cutting metal and stone and all the stuff that it's not designed to do on purpose to see how it holds up. And you can see that it definitely, this thin hook tooth design is far not as good as the Milwaukee design here. So that was a distinct advantage. Most of these bimetal blades, I mean, if you have a Lennox and you have a Diablo or the Torch from Milwaukee, that's going to be, you're going to get roughly the same. I mean, it's not going to be a huge significant amount of difference like we saw with this one here. Biggest thing to remember is if you need thin cutting, you're going to cut like maybe circles or something like that in wood or drywall, your thinner blades are better. But these thicker blades disperse the heat more on these bimetal blades. So they're going to last longer, and they're also not going to jam and buck and bend nearly as bad as these thinner blades. We could see that pretty obvious with like this one right here. If this was a nice thick blade like these, it would have held up a little bit better. What was interesting to see was where the diamond shined and where the carbide abrasive shined. They cut, but they take a long time to do it. So it is nice to be able to, I would say it would be a good idea to have some of these in your toolkit. And the diamond took longer as well, but it was the only one to cut the actual hardest thing, which was the drill bit at a 66 Rockwell hardness scale. That was the only thing that actually managed to cut that and cut it cleaner than anything else. When is that going to be an application for you? I don't know why you need to cut a drill bit in half or some steel that hard, but at least we know it does it. The new players in the game are the carbide tipped, and that's where I got to really see what happens here when I wanted to see what carbide did versus carbide, because these are both carbide, but this is a carbide tooth and this is a carbide grit. The carbide grit was obviously very slow, and I was super impressed by these blades. The only problem seemed to be that the carbide would break. That's carbide's only issue, is that it's extremely strong, extremely durable, super hard material. Its downfall is that it's brittle. It deals with the heat better than anything else. Any other kind of steel deals with the heat great. The heat doesn't really affect it and break it down like it does these bimetal blades. However, getting it on a product and getting it to where we can use it properly seems to be the issue. These blades would last longer because the carbide is a grit than these, and that seemed to be the main problem, is that the carbide would just shatter and shear off of there. And then of course this one right here, this thing did really well right up until, because this one is a solid strip. And these have individual pieces of carbide brazed onto each tooth. When this flexes, it doesn't affect the cutting edge. However, when this one flexed, when it got hot, you can see it got hot right here, then the metal backing it flexed. And when it flexed, because it's one solid piece of carbide, with little teeth in it instead of the individual chunks, that's when this blade broke down and failed. So when you see this one at the store, keep that in mind. This blade will cut, but if you get any kind of binding or flexing, it's not going to hold up, and then the entire blade is going to be destroyed and you're not going to have anything to cut with. So Diablo's the only one that I know of right now that actually is infusing the carbide into their blades. And as far as I'm concerned, I mean, as of right now, I'm not buying any more bimetal blades whatsoever. At the end of the day, that's what's going to stay in my Sawzall, and that's what's going to stay in my bag. They come in different sizes. You can get the little ones, this here, all the way up to the big 9-inch ones right here. But they just do everything. It's the best all-around Sawzall blade that I could see. It's going to cut your cast iron. It's going to cut steel, mild. That was the other issue with the carbide grit, is that if you cut something softer like aluminum or even the mild steel, it begins to plug this up, and then it starts to generate heat, and then it's going to start breaking down the blade. That's not what you want to have happen. These were able to cut through that and not gum up, because there's a much larger space right here. Did the axe cut through wooded nails slightly faster? Yeah, it did. But you're going to have these and these if you want to use that. I can only see that these would be the best all-around blade for me because they do everything well. I'm also going to keep some of these and the diamond ones just in case you get into something rough and maybe you break all the teeth off. At least you'll have something for backup. But if you have a diamond, if you got a carbide grit, and you got one of these carbide tooth blades, or a couple of them, you're gonna last a whole lot longer, and that should cut just about anything. I'm really not even gonna waste my money on bimetal blades anymore, simply because, unless I need to make a fine cut, I guess. But hopefully they'll go back to the drawing board on this one. That one did not seem to work out that well. And for what I saw today, as impressive as these were, you can bet that Milwaukee and Lennox are going to be coming out with something similar to this in the very near future. If I had any suggestions or if I could see anything done different, the way these started to break down was the carbide breaking off, and due to impact, because this is a very violent action. It's a very powerful machine, and it's a rough cut, gouge. I mean, rough and tumble, get it done type of thing. So if they could somehow combine the cutting power of the grit and put some grit, the carbide or even diamond grit, behind the carbide teeth in here, I don't know exactly how that would all work out, but if they could impregnate the steel with carbide up in here, then once the teeth failed and the carbide had failed in the teeth, you would still have something to back you up to get that job done and get it finished. That would combine the best of both worlds, where you're going to have that fast action cutting for the softer metals and wood, and you're going to have that super hard backup plan. So I think there's still some evolving that needs to go on with these, and hopefully between the other two companies we'll be able to see that. But as far as I can tell, right now the best blade at the store is this one right here. That's what's going in my bag, and until I see something better, that's where I'm going to stand. So I hope that helps you guys. I hope that helps you pick something at the hardware store and opened your mind to some other things that we didn't really try before or haven't seen before. And if you got one of these, you can cut just about anything. That's what we found out. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned. We're going to do lots more tool reviews. We're going to do something similar to this with hole saws coming up soon. So stay tuned, subscribe, hit the like button, share this with Facebook, G+, Twitter, all that kind of stuff, and help your buddies out and help them see what they need to see to pick what they need to pick at the hardware store. Thanks a lot.